This is Analog Spectrum. They're still pissed off because there aren't real sharks on Shark Tank.
Dun, da, 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 dun, 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 dun. That's the fanfare. That's my fanfare music.
It's very fair.
Yeah, and it's I'm not a fan.
This is Analog Spectrum, and this is Tony. I'm with Doug.
Welcome back.
And today we're going to do another hodgepodge because
we're so unorganized.
It is, baby. So,
but we got some cool. We got some cool stuff to talk about during this hodgepodge. I think
a lot of it is kind of I don't know, centered around the fact that like for example, on one of our previous podcasts, we had thoughts and ideas of things we want to talk about. They don't make up a whole podcast,
right?
But they got to go someplace.
Yes.
And here it is.
So leftovers, yep.
Pretty much.
Leftovers. These are like the crumbs on the table after dinner.
The delicious crumbs.
Yes.
The crumbs that you might take your finger, you spit on your finger a little bit. Yeah.
That's kind of nasty.
It is gross, but damn, it's good.
It's good, yeah.
It is. Okay. So anyway, so as far as the hodgepodge goes, and Lucy is with us.
Yeah, she is.
So
people may not be able to hear that, but
I can hear it.
Can you?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Everybody go quiet for a second. There it is. You totally can hear it.
Can you?
Yeah.
All right.
It's nothing but...
I'm gonna move the mic closer to her without trying to do that without waking her up, so it's getting a little noisy.
Okay, see what you can do. See what you can do.
See what I can do.
See what you can do. Holy shit. That's the best. Yes, you totally can hear it.
That's the snoring chihuahua. All right. So anyway,
Doug has actually looked into how much to get her a CPAP. It's not cheap.
It's not
cheap to get a little chihuahua CPAP machine.
Yeah, little baby backpack.
Yeah, So all right. So what would you like to talk about first?
So back to the hodgepodge thing. These are little scraps and stuff. So this is an idea. We'll start with this is an idea that Tony and I were talking about at some point, and it's just not enough here to make an entire podcast without being really more boring than usual. So so we're just gonna do three of these. Basically, the idea is this. One guy fires off some lyrics to a song, and the other guy has to guess what the song is.
Yep.
And we had to constrain this a little bit because obviously there's lots of music, and we both have pretty broad range in musical taste. But the center line for both of us is 70s and 80s rock, right?
Yeah,
so we kind of contained this a little bit to the late 70s, mid to late 70s.
Yeah, there's 75 to 79.
Right, and I'm not sure
years.
I stuck to that totally, but...
Oh, man, I did.
So here's an example, right? So if I was to read the lyrics, I close my eyes only for a moment, and the moment is gone. All my dreams pass before my eyes with curiosity. Kansas.
Dust in the wind.
Dust in the wind,
yeah.
right? Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's an example.
Yes.
So that was a softball pitch for anybody.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I know.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. Okay.
So what I did, and like I said, a lot of times the rules come as we kind of move into it, as we do this. So what I've done is, and we did talk briefly about this before we got started, but what I did was, I stayed between 75 and 79.
Okay.
All rock. Okay. Rock, maybe pop, I don't know, but definitely rock. Okay. And I wrote down like basically the first more often than not the first four lines of a song.
Okay, so the first verse or whatever.
Yeah, before it got into the chorus, and the chorus would typically give away the title.
Yeah.
Okay? And of course, sometimes songs will open up in the very first song.
Sure. Yeah. So the idea, just so everybody knows here, the idea is not to stump the other guy.
Right.
We're trying to pick songs that we both know.
Yes.
But being so out of context with one of us morons reading the lyrics instead of being a beautiful vocal voice singing the lyrics with music in the background, that disconnect is going to be like, can we actually recognize that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay, who goes first?
Can I go first?
Sure.
Okay, so what I will do is
Dust in the wind. Oh, shit. Yeah, I thought I got it. I had it.
Okay, so ready, here we go.
Oh, your timing is?
I'm timing just
for
timing
the podcast.
Okay. Yeah, so that way.
All of a sudden, the pressure hit me, man. I can name that note in 4 2s.
No, timing the podcast that way. Because sometimes if you haven't figured it out yet, now that we're like 25 podcasts into the fact that if we don't do this, Doug and I will talk for hours.
We go long.
Honestly, that's a cool thing. The fact that you and I can just basically talk and not want to kill each other.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so here we go.
All right, so I'm going to start reading.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna keep reading. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read the first line, and then if you don't know it, I'll read.
Okay.
We'll just keep going. Okay.
Yep. I'll chime in as soon as I know or give up when I don't.
The sun is shining in the sky. There ain't a cloud in sight. It stopped raining. Everybody's in the play.
It's sounding familiar. I'm thinking I should know it.
Yep. And don't you know it's a beautiful day? Beautiful new day. Sorry. Okay.
Do they say sorry?
No, they do. That's me. Okay. And don't you know it's a beautiful new day? Hey, hey, hey. Running down the avenue.
Oh, that gave it away. Hold on.
Okay. The next line will definitely give it away.
Okay, go.
See how the sun shines brightly in the city. And I have to stop it for the next line.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like I know it, but I can't.
The streets were once, and the streets where once was pity.
That one doesn't strike me hard, but the I think I should know it, but I don't.
Did we tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Blue Sky.
Fuck, of course. Okay, now I would consider that a deep cut.
Really?
Yes.
That's a freaking, that song's super popular. Okay.
Think about who you're talking to.
I get it. All right.
Okay.
The next one you'll get for sure.
Okay.
I know you get the next one.
I'm giving you what I've chosen here. I'm giving you the easiest of we got 3. And this is the easiest of my 3. So if you don't get this one, you might be.
I disagree that it was a deep cut. That was a freaking huge. That was a huge hit for them.
I know. So I'm going to give it away right now. That is probably one of my least favorite songs.
Really?
I hate that song.
You hate Mr. Blue Sky.
I hate Mr. Blue Sky.
You are a pessimist at heart. That is a beautiful song, man.
I hate Mr. Blue Sky for several reasons, but I like a lot of ELO. I just don't like that.
If the Police sang that song, you'd be freaking thinking it was the greatest thing ever.
How did you know I'm going to get the Police?
Oh, if you play the
first one. Dude. First one. Yeah, son of a bitch.
You better go Roxanne.
No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to put on the red light.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so here we go. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful.
Oh, shit. I know this
a miracle. It was beautiful, magical. And all the birds in the trees, will they be singing so happily?
Why is this so hard? I know this song.
I know you know it. Yep.
I know this songs.
Yeah.
So,
can we keep going?
Yes, you have to.
Okay. Will they be singing so happily, joyfully, oh, playfully, watching me? You know it, dude.
I do know it. Son of a... Why is this hard?
I know.
Well, and again, I my brain isn't working real good right now anyway. Can you do it one more time?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
When I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful.
Yeah.
Just use that.
It's Supertramp.
There you go.
Yeah, it's
you
Supertramp.
got it. Yep.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say, just do that first line.
Yeah, it's Supertramp. Is it? What's the song though? Is oh shit! What is the song? It's the song is in the name, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So but what is it?
The Logical Song.
Logical Song. That's what it was.
All right. You get credit for that though, because you pegged it.
Yeah. So okay, you're gonna get this one.
Okay.
Okay, you're definitely gonna get this one.
Okay.
This one is the easiest of all mine, I think. Okay. Living easy, loving free, season ticket on a one-way ride.
I got it. Hold on. AC/DC.
Yes.
Hold on. Hell's Bells are Black and Black.
Nope.
Hold on. Hold on. I got it. I'm just going through it in my head. Shit. I don't know. Go.
Asking nothing, leaving me be, taking everything in my stride. Okay. And also think about one-way ride.
Yes.
Don't need reason. Don't need rhyme.
Yep.
Ain't nothing I'd rather do. Going down party time.
Highway to Hell. That's
yes, it is. It's Highway to Hell.
I had to.
Yes.
I was going through the rhythm in my head. Yeah,
when we were talking about the doing this on the podcast, like that song came on someplace, and I was like, "That's it.
Yeah,
that's the song." Yeah. So
okay, good.
All right. Okay.
This one you're gonna kick yourself for not knowing. I don't think you're gonna get this one.
All right.
But
I got Supertramp. I'm surprised.
But you should get this one.
I love Supertramp, by the way.
Yeah, I know. So do I.
They're amazing.
Yeah. And you know, like perfect Highway to Hell. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who doesn't know that song? Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so here's one for you. Loving you isn't the right thing to do. How can I ever change the things that I feel?
Oh, shit. Keep going.
If I could, maybe I'd give you my world. How can I when you won't take it from me?
I don't know this one.
Okay, first line I'm going to do over again, and you're going to get it from this.
Okay.
Loving you isn't the right thing to do.
Oh, man, is it... I hate to ask. This is going to be...
some clues now. Female singer.
Female singer.
Mm-hmm.
Rock band or a solo artist?
Band.
Is it Heart?
Nope.
Ah, shit. Oh, female singer in a band.
Yep.
Loving you isn't the right thing to do. It does sound super familiar.
Yep. Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, shit, man. Is it Fleetwood Mac? Fleetwood Mac.
Yep.
God, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I knew you should get that one. I wasn't sure because it's weird the way the lyric is written and the way she sings it.
That's Stevie Nicks. Yeah,
Stevie Nicks,
definitely.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about dropping a Fleetwood Mac song on you.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right.
Okay. Next.
Okay. All right. This is gonna. Well, I'll be interested to see if you get this.
Okay.
I will say right now that this is, if I were to do a top 10 rock of the 70s, this song might be number one.
Oh wow.
Okay. Yeah. So, as soon as you're able, woman, I am willing to make the break that we are on the brink of.
Ooh, that sounds familiar.
You ready? You ready for the line that's going to give it away?
Uh-huh.
Okay. My cup is on the table. Our love is spilling. Waiting here for you to take a drink of. So if you're tired of the same old story, oh, turn the page. Turn some pages.
Turn some pages.
Mm-hmm. And the last line I can give is, I'll be here when you're ready.
Well, only because it's you, I'd be guessing Bob Seger, but...
Nope, but good guess. It's very Bob Seger-ish.
Yeah. One more time, the first two lines.
Yeah, I'll go again. It's hard because and by the way, the reason I'm kind of twisting it around is I'm reading off a screen and trying to keep my mouth in front of the mic.
Okay.
But as soon as you are able, woman, I am willing to make the break that we are on the brink of. My cup is on the table.
I know this. The brink is what gave it away for me.
Yeah. My cup is on the table. Our love is spilling, waiting here for you to take and drink of. So if you're tired of the same old story, oh, turn some pages.
Nah, you're gonna have to give it to me because I know it, but I can't.
Okay, well, let me give some.
Okay.
I'll give you some clues. It's definitely a band.
Mm-hmm.
Came out in 1970. I know that doesn't help much, but
1970.
8.
Oh, 78.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will also give you a hint. Okay, in that the band also has a very famous live song. Not this song though.
That doesn't help.
Probably not. I'm trying to think what else I can tell you. Oh, I'll tell you. The first part of the band's name is letters. In other words, just you read the letters. Like
REO Speedwagon?
Yep.
Okay. All right. What's the song?
The name is Roll with the Changes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Okay.
That's not one.
Yeah, it's funny when you know the song and you're writing this down.
As soon as you hear the music.
Yeah. I got it. So this is weird.
Okay. So this one will be similar.
Okay.
This one will be similar for you, I think. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Here we stand, worlds apart.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Hearts broken in two.
Yeah. So. Okay.
Sleepless nights, losing ground. I'm reaching for you.
God, here we stand, worlds apart.
I know you're so close. I'm going to give it to you. You ready?
No.
Okay, it's a band.
It's a band. Yeah, give me some clues.
Okay, and this should give it away.
Okay,
I feel like if you were giving me this clue, this would give it away. It's a San Francisco band.
Journey. It's So it's worlds apart. Is it? No, it's here we stand, worlds apart. Is it Faithfully? No.
Good guess. Same album.
Is it? So Faithfully was on Frontiers, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. So it's funny what I do know.
All the wrong shit.
Yeah, it doesn't help us. Yeah. But
separate ways.
Separate ways.
I know, right?
Oh, I love it. Let's do this more.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
So both of us were 1 for 3.
1 for 3.
Yeah. So no,
it's harder than it seems, right?
Yeah. No, it is because you reading it isn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't do anything.
The words resonate.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you hear me of course.
Yeah, but the rhythm of the words don't, and of course the lyrical tones up and down.
This is an interesting little study because the truth is that if you probably played the music without the lyrics, I'd nail it.
Oh, nail it, and 2 seconds flat.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me the first 3 chords of that, boom, I got it. Yeah,
but son of a gun, man. Yeah. That was fun.
That was fun. Yeah,
we'll do that again. So,
so it's funny because when I'm a lyric guy, man. I'm all over the lyrics, and
sure.
As I was deciding on what to do, I started going with some, I won't say obscure, but not even B-sides, still popular stuff, but stuff that people don't actually know the lyrics to. And I thought, that's just going to be too hard.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I pulled these, I thought maybe the REO Speedwagon would be tough, but I didn't think ELO would be hard. I didn't think, of course.
Well, honest to God, if you would have chosen something else from ELO, I might have got it. But one of the things that I don't like about that song is the lyrics. It's too. And again, sorry, divergent here, but it's too bubblegummy. It's too.
I freaking love that shit, man. I tell you what,
that's the one. That's the one ELO too.
I like that song because, and I do like that song, is that because it is so. Of course, the ELO orchestra, it is very much orchestral. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I won't deny any of that, but I just don't like it.
And it comes from a time where music, there was all these kind of concept albums, and you could, and also that my brother had. I think it was off Out of the. I could look, but I think it was off Out of the Blue, and my brother. I think it was a double. And my brother had that. There was a really weird. It wasn't like deco, not deco at all, but there was like a weird kind of kind of aesthetic that came out in the 70s where there was kind of these colors and the way the artwork was done, and ELO leaned heavily on that.
Heavily,
and so another. I'm not describing it very well, but it was just a real popular style in the 70s. And
Kansas, they had that similar sort of style to it because all their, a lot of bands,
music wise, yes,
So, but so their the artwork on their albums and stuff were a little edgier, I think. Than ELO.
Kansas, definitely.
Yeah, but it was the same. It was almost like thematic. You know what I mean? But they paid as much attention to the art as they did the music. Yeah. The album art and stuff, and it was cool. Because if you look, if you go back to it started probably in the '60s with some of the psychedelic stuff, but that was most definitely not my style. I did not like that psychedelic art and all that, and I know it was a thing and whatever, but but if you go before that and you think about whoever, Johnny Cash or Elvis, even the king of rock and roll, he had a picture of himself on the album cover, and that's what it was, Right. But then we started to get into the 70s. But again, you and I've talked about this before, but I think music in the 70s was really at its pinnacle. That was the peak in my mind, only because it was so dynamic. It was just, anything could be in a song. Think of the Freddie Mercury creativity that got blasted out, and then Kansas and ELO, and not to mention the less talented but still popular stuff like Kiss. We talked about that. This guy's is super basic, most of it, but
it's interesting. Well, gosh, it's so broad. Music in general is broad and deep. You know what I mean? Like there's so, but back then it was broader and deeper than I don't know. I sound like an old man, but it's broader and deeper than what we have now.
It seems like it.
Yeah, it seems like it.
So I would say this because I'm a little bit defensive about this topic, only because I have a hard time believing that music today is not good.
It's hard,
and only because I think the popular music that's shoved in our face is not good. But I think there's a lot of musicians that do great stuff. We just don't get to hear it.
Well, it's funny, because
it's hard to find.
I was about ready to go. I was about ready to go down that same pathway. That because now, and it's one of the things I like about doing this with you is that. We decide to do recommendations. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. But I like to recommend music, and it obligates me to go off my playlist. Right. And my playlist, and just for everybody that's listening, like you give a shit, that I have a playlist, and I call it songs du jour. Right. Mm-hmm. And so if and it's basically just collection. It's probably like 45 hours of music now. And if I'm like, oh yeah, I remember listening to that song, or oh, I really like that song, I just drag and drop it in there, and that way I kind of never lose it, right? And it hasn't become unwieldy yet. I can still kind of search through it and find stuff, but I realized it was basically just me leaning on what I was used to. Everything in there from like Hootie and the Blowfish to freaking Inagata to like whatever is in there. But it rarely ever gets added to, right? Because this is what I listen to, right? And there's lots and lots and lots of music in there. But then we're like, oh, let's make recommendations. So I have to go into like Spotify. And I've talked about this, I think. God, everything just runs together. But when I first got my first iPod, I thought, and this is 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I thought it was really interesting that Apple Tunes, whatever it was called at the time, the Apple Store. And by the way, I'm not an Apple guy, but that was the iPod, right? And man, it was very intuitive. Like, it was very intuitive as far as like, hey, if you like Leonard Skinner, you'll like this music. And I was like, damn, pretty good. And then now that I use Spotify, they're like, hey, if you like Leonard Skinner, you'll like this. And it's like, hey, I don't, okay? I really do not like that, okay? Right. And so I kind of gave up on that. But now I'm obligated to like starting to flip over stones and see what I can find.
Okay.
And so with that said, my own personal experience when you talk about, and I totally get where you're coming from when you say, I just hate to think that music isn't as good as.
Yeah, it can't be.
It's subjective, right?
Yeah.
But I will tell you, like so I go on Spotify, I go to like new rock, using quotation fingers, and I start listening. And so they have a playlist on there that's maybe like 80 songs or 40 songs long, and I start going through it, and I try to give each song a chance. And of those 80 songs, you
get 5,
maybe, and it's not that they're bad, but they just seem like they are all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, rehash.
Oh, it's know, and it's very, and you were talking about like listening to the music of the 70s. There was just like this perfect, like the way the guitar sounded, and not that every song the guitar sounded the same, but how hard and how edgy the guitar was, how good the drumming was.
Yeah,
how
that's the mix, right? That's the engineer.
Yes.
And if you, here's an interesting thing. I'm just going to pause it. I want you to finish that, but just real quick. There's a documentary on Metallica. Yeah. On Netflix. I guess it's still there. I don't know. They take stuff away or whatever, right. But they had a huge fight in and amongst the band,
right,
with the engineer that did their Black Album,
right?
Because prior to that, they did all their own recording and they did all their own mixing, and they were they felt like they were really good at it. Their fans loved them, and they were passionate as hell, and they thought, we don't want to spoil that. And they hired a guy when they started getting popular to do the Black Album, and he said, no, we need to do this and you need to do that. And they said nope, and they were fighting, and of course he was correct. This guy was he was an engineer, he was a sound engineer. And so they eventually listened to him, and of course that album blew those guys up like nothing. Yeah. So that, I think, is one of the areas that music has nowadays. They have all these engineers, but I think that I don't know if everything has been done or if they're not creative like they used to be. I don't know what the motivations are now compared to where they used to be, but it just seemed to me like the record companies from the 70s was a double-edged sword. I mean, they pumped tons of money into the industry, created artists, trained artists, hired great engineers, messed around with stuff. And this is you and I think on our very first podcast, we talked about the Beatles. And I give those guys credit for bouncing down tracks, from 8 to 4 to 8 to 16 and whatever. And that's the kind of stuff that was innovative, and it was groundbreaking at the time. And I just don't hear that anymore. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just not paying close enough attention, or I don't know. But
I think that's always a possibility. The fact that we're just, because again, we're just not engaged like we used to be.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, like we just got done doing the fact that I was able to, we were able to read lines, and I was, I can pick up the fact that was even Supertramp. Yeah. And you were able to pick up that's AC/DC. Yeah. Just goes to give you an idea. Yeah. And the fact that we're able to kind of identify band members. I don't know band members, know. But with that, kind of going back on that, like what I was saying was that it just seems like, that like the guitar of the 70s, which really still hits me. I love listening to it. And I listen to the guitar now, or the vocals or whatever like that. It's so rare that I listen to it and think that I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's like, that's too much.
Yeah.
That's too hard. That's not.
Yeah, so I don't get that.
Like,
that's interesting that you say that, because I don't get that at all. What I get is that's too processed.
Well, maybe that's part of it.
Maybe that's what you're hearing.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure.
So
I don't hear, like, I recommended Calio a few podcasts back, and if you listen to that, it is it harkens back to the more open, natural sort of sounds, and not that anything about the way AC/DC sounds is natural, including Bon Scott's crazy ass voice.
Right.
But for somehow it all fit, like you're saying. There's this weird dynamic puzzle.
Right.
And it all kind of fit,
But it's funny you talk about AC/DCs. Like, I can listen to any number of AC/DC songs, and then go down that list, that podcast list we're talking about. Nothing comes close.
Yeah.
And I just refuse to believe that's just my subjective opinion.
Yeah.
For example, I like listening to something like Thunderstruck, and which is one of their newer songs, really. And I'm just kind of like, this is so far. I mean, again, it's so far beyond, and it's just a feel good song. They probably but the talent in that, or we talk about like one of our favorite bands that both of us like Rush. I listen to something off Rush. I don't know what people are trying to achieve out there now, but that should be your goal to do something that is that good,
elevated. Yeah. But that's like learning to paint, and so you want to be Van Gogh or Picasso or something. It's like, but I mean, as a painter, that probably is your goal.
It should be.
I mean?
I think it should be. I mean, again, you may not ever achieve it. And not to, and like I said, I hear good music and so forth. It's just. I like to think that the artists, because the artists are good, they're clearly good. I just don't know what I don't know. Who am I to criticize?
Yeah, no, it's true. You are, because you're the listener, right? And so this is an interesting topic for me, because I think that if you, I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson, and he talks about things about history and stuff. And we're talking about the history of music. He talks about things on a much, 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 much bigger scale than what most people. So we would take this conversation and say, let's go back to the very, very first guy who played a stringed instrument and look at the development over that span of time, not just 50s, 60s, 70s, right? And so when you think about that, musicians were entertainers purely. They weren't superstars. They weren't put on pedestals and paid zillions of dollars.
Right.
They got their, I think we may have talked about this, because now that I'm going to say, they got their lute and they sat down at the table, the monks and stuff, and played whatever they played.
Right.
And that was just, hey, that's great. Have an extra chicken wing or something, and that was it,
Right.
But now the quest for superstardom, I think, spoils the innocence that we're seeking. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch the documentary on Leonard Skinner,
I've seen it.
I mean, those dudes sat in that damn little cave and just played music.
Like literally like a
shack.
A shack in the swamp.
In the swamp, yeah. And they just played music.
Yeah, and what's so amazing about that is, we did talk about this in a previous podcast, that you have like Greg Allman, who would just basically like riff, the Greg Allman Band, or the Allman Brothers, sorry, but the Skinner would wanted to sound like that, but they had to practice the shit out of it.
They crafted their stuff.
They really did, and that was all Van Zandt. Like Van Zandt was like, he was a slave driver. He was. He was. And so, but
I think what I'm driving at is those guys. They wanted to make good music, and they wanted to play in front of bands and big audiences. I mean, and they probably wanted record deals and stuff. But I don't think most of those guys that we liked didn't have this idea that I want to be a zillionaire. I want to sell zillions of records and make money for the rest of my life off of this. They just liked the music, and they were trying to create something that was lasting.
Right.
That was it. And everything else that came on top of that was awesome. They loved it, right?
Right.
But I think that's what I hear nowadays when I listen to more modern music, is like, hey, check this out. I can be a superstar. That the presentation of it is not honest.
They're trying to put that square peg in that square fame hole.
And so that's what I hear when I'm listening to a lot of the modern music.
I think there's always probably with and not that it would be easy to quantify, but I think with all those bands, like everything, the bands we talk about, like Journey and Rush and all that they probably did want fame, but fame supported the their ability to make good music, you know. And I think maybe that's been turned on its head a little bit. Maybe it's that fame's more important, you know. So I don't know. I mean, again, we talk a lot. We're not talking about movies, which is nice for a change, but yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that's something I think about sometimes, about the evolution of music, and I just wonder where it's going to go from here, because eventually the big money will dry up,
right?
And it has for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean,
no more albums.
Yeah, I mean, even streaming and stuff is whatever. I mean, the only way that you make lots of money nowadays in the music business is through big corporations.
Right.
I mean, and that's it. I guess the record companies back in the day were that same thing, but
yeah,
you know, go on America's Got Talent or something, and then you know, you become popular.
Right. A lot of people say that those shows ruined it.
Yeah, I think I don't know, to some degree. I don't know. I got love-hate with those things. I don't like the whole judging and all that. It's all. I
just wish it wasn't so hard to find good music now.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, like when you and I were kids, it was just you went down to the records and tape store. And
But I wonder how much music was produced and how much we hang on to now. Like less than 1/10 of 1%.
What do you mean?
So it might not be that different. Yeah. So I mean, how often do you listen to Captain and Tennille?
Never.
Okay, and that was out and popular when we were young.
Yeah.
You know. And so on and so on. There's countless.
Yeah, I don't know.
That have gone by. I mean, it's still there, and we remember it as kids. And so, is that same thing happening now?
I don't know. I mean, I think one thing that's
lots of noise.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I think one thing that is lacking now is like when we were kids, we leaned so hard on our favorite radio stations, and that's gone. Yeah. You know, so I mean, I do have like XM, but I, like, and when I listen to XM, I listen to like 5 channels. You know, I listen to like, you know, classic vinyl, you know, classic rewind, you know, that kind of stuff. But in the rock station is nothing is not even programmed into my presets, you know. Right. But
it's funny, man, because I don't listen to. I mean, we're redoing our house, and I have this Bluetooth speaker thing.
Yeah.
And Elsa doesn't particularly love the music that I listen to.
That's interesting.
Well, you know, it's the same old shit over and over again. Frampton and, you know, Journey and whatever. Yeah. And she's heard it all a zillion times, and she didn't grow up with it, so she doesn't have the same attachment that I do. So I don't try not to inundate her with that. So I'll just put on the radio, which I don't listen to the radio at all. Ever. That's what I was going to say. I don't have Spotify. I don't stream music.
Right.
The closest I come to that is when I'm doing chores around the house and I'm too lazy to actually put on a record or whatever. I will put on Amazon Music and just put on one of the stations, but it always ends up, again, being the same 500 songs that I listen to. But so the other day, we were working in the house, and I put on this Bluetooth. I put on the actual radio, just the FM local station, tiny little Bandera, Texas, tiny little station.
Yeah, that's cool.
And man, they played the widest variety of music, and some of it was country, and some of it was folk, and some of it a little bit of rock and roll, CCR here and there, and that kind of stuff. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I don't listen to anything but my own music anymore. I got none of that stuff I don't listen to, and it was enjoyable to listen to the radio, but of course I immediately started hating all the commercials and the repetitive political ads that were coming up at the time. And but I'm quite happy with just listening to my own music collection. But it's growing. I mean, I'll continue to discover old new music. And in the genre of blues in particular, I've been sort of steering down that road in the past 5 years, and I thank YouTube for that, because there's a lot of music on YouTube.
You sent me that Broken Peach.
Yeah, that was fun,
dude. You know that, of course, now that I watched that video, which is and maybe I'll post it. Maybe we can make that a mid-podcast recommendation if you haven't seen it. Is look up Broken Peach is a band that basically just does.
They do covers.
They do covers, and they're not,
but very colorful covers.
Yeah, and their big thing is every year they do like a Halloween thing. Yeah. And last year, not this year, but last year they did Tainted Love.
Tainted Love.
And the video is popping,
so cool,
man. It's very
so cool,
good, man. And there isn't really a lead vocalist. There's just 4 women that sing in front of a drummer, a bass player, and a guitarist. You know,
they are very well
talented.
Put together.
Yes,
but that video in particular was just striking.
It was awesome. It's great.
Yeah,
and it's funny because I don't think they did anything to it. I think that's just the way they
dance. Yeah,
yes.
It does when they're moving. It does look a little bit like drop frame video. Or
it
something,
does,
but
it does.
I think they're just kind of like popping or whatever.
Yeah, but they look it
is cool.
It's disturbing in all the best possible ways.
Yeah,
but anyway, with that said, what you were mentioning as far as like expanding my musical horizon, and again, what I was mentioning about, that is coming up with recommendations, like my songs du jour playlist is now probably like the bottom, like 15 or so, are ones that because I've been exploring for this, and they pop up on there.
Right.
It's interesting that you mentioned that Elseth. But what kind of music does she like?
If I get in the car after her and she's been driving around on her own or whatever, oftentimes it's on Christian radio.
Okay.
She's been getting into talk radio lately, which is like, I know, like I get in the car and there's like a Rush Limbaugh or something type thing on. And I'm like, wow,
going on? Yeah,
interesting. But she's curious, because I talk a lot about
all that stuff,
just some of the political issues that are happening of the day and that kind of stuff. But anyway, so she checks that out. But she likes pop. I think a lot of the pop from the 90s and 2000s. Right. But then what she really, I think, enjoys the most, like she gets the greatest enjoyment out of, is like classical movie themes, orchestral or symphonic type of stuff. Like I think I was telling you this the other day. Like a song will come on, just this random orchestral music, and she'll name the movie that it's from. I'm like, hey, bullshit. And
wow.
She's right every time. She can nail that like you and I can nail 70s rock.
Right.
She can just nail it.
Yeah. For Melanie, I mean, she's
she grew up
in West Texas.
In West Texas.
Yeah. So if I do get in the car, like her car, it's all like on Tejano. She'll listen to Tejano on the radio. It's funny because you're on one end of the spectrum as far as like being an audiophile, right? Like what you want. I do like I don't have a vacuum tube amp or anything like that. But with that said, I have a very nice stereo in my truck, my FJ, and I also got a very nice one in my truck. And I've even said to Melanie, she's got in her car. Like, you want me to go on Crutchfield and
build you
system? One of the funny story is we lived up in Seattle. I had that freaking hunk of shit Subaru, and it had some garbage. It wasn't the stock one. I did have like a radio in there.
Right.
Do you remember like having like the cassette thing hanging under the dash
when
you were a kid, things like that?
Hell yeah.
Like I had like that kind of, you would actually have what was it? It was something that would, like, you could plug into the cassette and it would, I can't remember what it would play. Anyway, like I think it was maybe back when they first started coming out.
So it was CDs. There was a fake
yes.
cassette and it had a wire coming out.
Yes,
and you plug that into your portable CD player.
That's what it was.
Yes.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes.
So in just the whole this hodgepodge like electronic crap, but that's what the Subaru had. And so up in Seattle, I start making, because I went from being like an enlisted person to being an officer, and I started making officer money and all that kind of stuff, and then making PA money and all that. So I go on Crutchfield, and I'm sure you're familiar with Crutchfield.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Know it well.
Yeah, and so and if you're not, Crutchfield is like the clearinghouse for all things audio, right?
Car audio, especially.
Yeah. And for a while there, they had like a huge following when we were kids, and it was where you bought all that shit audio too, like the garbage cassette player and stuff.
BOSS or BOSS or whatever.
Yeah. Stuff like you either go to the flea market or you go to Crutchfield, right? Yeah. And so I bought like I went hog wild, and I bought like an awesome high wattage stereo that would go in to the dash. I bought like a kicker in the back. I bought door speakers for front and back. And it was funny because it was always coming at a different time. And in the house in Seattle, it was I had a pile like in the floor because like the kicker was huge, right? And I put all that. And I remember Melanie being like, "What are you doing?" And it's funny. Like how I know when she's displeased with something I've done is she, like, I'll say something like, "Hey, I need to go to the store," and if she doesn't want me to go, she'll repeat what I say, but as a question, "You're going to the store?" And so I know that I may have overstepped the line. That's not that you would ever get upset, but it'd be like, you're buying more audio equipment. That would be the question. So she was clearly displeased with it, and so rather than doing it myself, installing it myself, which I've been down that path, as I took it to a stereo store and had them professionally install it. And I remember, like, I think the very first song I ever played for her on that car stereo was like Limelight, Rush's Limelight, which has got one of the most epic, it's on my top Rush songs ever.
Yeah.
It's a great song. And I remember her being like, money well spent, bro. So she likes the same stuff I like.
Yeah.
But that's not, it's just like, my ears ring, and I know it's because of that damn stereo. Freaking Superman.
Yeah, I can thank Ted Nugent for my ear ringing.
Oh Lord, man! And so, but if I go into Melanie's car, she doesn't want a car stereo. I even said you want to put one in.
After the podcast, you and I are gonna just drive around the block in my car, and we're gonna listen to Subdivisions.
Nice. I love that.
Get my car. And again, I only bought this car because the interior was immaculate. It was like brand new, and there's some problems on the outside, the scratches on the paint, whatever.
Right.
But I got a good deal on it, and it's got the twin turbo V8, which I liked.
Nice.
But I had no idea at the time. But they put a Bang & Olufsen stereo system in that thing,
right?
And it is insanely good.
Yeah,
it is insanely good.
Nice.
It is by far the best audio system I've ever had in a vehicle.
Right.
And my Range Rover was pretty good, but this one,
Yeah, the one in the FJ is okay. You know what I mean? It's not. I mean, it's a nice stereo, but it's I want to be able to not turn it up to 10 to max. I want to be able to be like, if that's too much,
right?
If I can get up to 10 and like listen to it and it doesn't, I'm not really worried about going deaf.
I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing, but mine does not have a volume indicator.
Oh, really?
It has a volume knob.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you where you are 1 to 10.
Really?
Nothing.
Well, mine doesn't say. I mean,
it doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Mine's like there's no indicator.
Gotcha.
You just keep turning the volume and it'll keep going up. It's crazy.
I think mine's a Kenwood in there now.
Yeah,
which is fine. Which is good. Good quality.
Yeah.
But
anyway, you flash me back to the 6x9 wars again.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's I mentioned in the previous podcast. I'm gonna stop saying that now. I had that old Pontiac, and my brother had put a stereo in there, and it was, and he had, worked at, Richway and, Doraville for a while. Probably spent like $90, which was all his salary for like a month,
right?
And put that cassette player in there, and it was, like you were just saying, like the cheapest 6x9 you could get.
Yeah, as long as it was loud. Didn't have to be clear, didn't sound good, just had to be loud, man.
Yeah, but it was just distortion.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I'm flirting with what to do with my car. The car that I'm buying and building.
Oh, okay,
the 65 Coupe.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, I go on the forums and they say, I don't even bother putting a stereo when you can't hear the damn thing anyway, because the side pipes, the side pipes exit by the driver's ear.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys are like, I just drive around with earplugs in anyway. And, I'm listening to all this and I'm thinking like, oh man, I'm not sure if I want that, because music is a good, big part of the enjoyment of driving for me. And then I start realizing when some of these car shows, I'm like, these are old fuddy-duddies that are saying that shit. You know what? Screw you.
No.
You're the same guy that used to tell me to turn it down. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm not listening to you. I'm putting a kick-ass freaking stereo in this car, man.
Well, let me ask you about that.
But the beauty is that I can, like you were saying, making good money. I can actually afford. It's actually going to sound good.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Well, let me ask you. I mean, are you going to? Is it going to be loud? Your car?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Well,
it's got side pipes, man. There's no mufflers hardly.
Okay, well, yeah, but they do make, like you remember the old Corvettes had side pipes, and they were muffled to a certain extent.
These aren't.
Okay.
And it depends on the motor. Like you and I were talking the other day about the 427, right?
Oh God, let's uncork this.
But
I'm so upset with you.
No. I think I'm going back and forth. Like I really would like that 427, the rawness of it.
Okay.
But I think what I don't want is I don't want the car.
Before you go any further, just so our listeners understand, where you and I are kind of slightly knocking heads on this is.
Okay, so let's go all the way back to the beginning. This is a kit car. I'm buying a kit car, right? And it's like, I don't know, it's like 20 grand or something.
Sure.
And for that money, you get a frame and a fiberglass body and all of the suspension parts and all of the sheet metal and stuff to put the car together.
Not the drivetrain.
You have to supply the engine, the transmission, the rear axle, and wheels and tires.
Drivetrain. Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So you got to do all of that.
Right.
So the way they build them is the mounts for the motor. They give you quite a bit of selection. You can choose from this motor, that motor, and da-da-da-da-da. And so I've been flirting with going with a Coyote, which is what's in the Mustang, 5.0 liter Coyote.
So it's a 302.
It's a 302, yep. And it's a modern, they call them modular engines. It's turn the key, start it up, drive away.
Okay.
I've been flirting between that and an old school pushrod motor, like what we grew up with, in a variety of different sizes. So common ones are like 302, a 347.
Wait. You said what's a pushrod motor versus the Coyote motor? When you say pushrod, you're talking...
So the old school pushrods, like we have, we grew up with a V8, right?
Yeah.
And then they have the dual overhead cam thing.
Right?
And they call it modular. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the
overhead
Coyote,
cam. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and the Coyote even has multi-port fuel injection.
Okay.
So it's cylinder fuel injected as well as fuel injected where the carburetor would be. And so it's weird. It's very technologically advanced, right?
It's been 25 years since I've turned a wrench. So
right. And then the other thing that the Coyote has that's awesome is that you can adjust the intake and exhaust valves independently.
Okay.
So it used to be you get your cam,
right,
and then that cam is made, and so whatever the exhaust and intakes do based on that cam, but this is variable on both those. Yeah, it's crazy. So you can actually extend the amount of burn time or shrink it, or so you can mess with those things. I won't do any of that. I'm going to get this thing tuned.
Dial it in.
Yeah, I'm not a race car driver. And I don't care about that stuff.
Okay.
It has the technology, but I just want it to be reliable. So anyway, going back to that, you could get a 302, 347, or a 427. Those are kind of the three most popular.
347. That's weird.
347 is just a 302 board out. Yeah, just punched out a little bit, right? And then when you stroke it, you make that stroke longer. Then you end up with the 427.
Wow, that's
So again, so my idea was I love the displacement of the 427, that big punch, that big power, and just sounds amazing.
And just to be clear, 427, a GM motor, right?
Ford. This is still a Ford. Yep. And again, it's the 302. It's a small block Ford. It's the 302. You extend the bore, right?
Okay.
You get the bore larger, and you end up around that 347. You change the heads, and you can get to the 351 Windsor.
Wow.
Right? Which that's just the ports on the heads are a little bit different. It just breathes more air.
Okay.
And then if you extend the push rod, not the push rod, sorry, the crank.
Yeah, crank rods.
Yeah. If you extend that, you get a longer stroke, and then you can end up at 427.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So
because I always think about Ford being 429 and Chevy being 427.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So Blueprint Engines. Yeah. Blueprint Engines makes these things, and they're kind of made all over. Anyway, the bottom line is it's a lot of displacement. And that sounds different than, like, for example, a 4-cylinder Japanese motor. The pistons are small and they go really fast. These are big, large explosions with slow-moving pistons.
Very loopy.
Yeah, by comparison. Yeah. So I like that. I like because it's all torque. And the words, I don't know how famous these are. I'm going to say they're famous, but in the famous words of Jay Leno, all the fun in driving is between 30 and 80.
Right.
That's where all the fun is. You start getting over 80.
It gets a little scary.
You got to pay too close of attention.
Yeah.
If you're a race car driver, it's different, but I'm just talking street cars.
Right.
And so going from 30 to 60 is great. Going from 50 to 80 is great,
Right.
So, and that's what the 427 do really well. But it's a lot of freaking power, man. And I'm just worried about that back end cutting loose on me when I'm not expecting it and stuff. So.
Yeah. And that's where Doug and I kind of knocked heads a little bit, because you're talking about kind of dialing back on the 427.
Well, so again, it's part of this is tuning, right? So if I put a fuel injection system on it, I can actually tune it so it doesn't have to have 550 horsepower. And so what that does is the power curve is slower. It's not as steep. You don't go from
Yeah, and again, not to sound like an old man, you know what I mean? But I get it, you know what I mean? Only because how fast do I got to get to 60?
Yeah,
and I want to get there fast.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I do want to get. I just remember, but I'm past the time where I want to burn the back tires off.
Same here.
I don't want to drag race.
Yeah, same here. Nope, I'm not into that.
Yeah.
And then, so what I was going to tell you is I'm kind of been leaning back towards that Coyote again.
Right.
Only purely for the reliability. I mean, that engine is so bulletproof and so reliable. You just basically get in, turn the key, start up, and drive away.
Yeah.
You don't have to fiddle with adjusting carburetors or worrying about any of that stuff. It's a modern engine. Use computer controlled.
I'm actually getting this whole this connection between what we talked about, like the haphazard way we slapped stereos in a car to the way we do stereos nowadays, to the way we rebuild engines as a kid, to the way it is now. It is now. Because I remember as a kid, and to be clear, I never rebuilt my own engine. I just hung around people that did rebuild engines,
right.
And I remember them going. I don't remember what. Maybe it was like J.C. Whitney or something like that.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It wasn't. J.C. Whitney was more like floor mats.
Right.
But there was definitely magazines out there or catalogs.
Summit and whatever.
Yeah, Summit was a good one. Yeah. And where they would be like, what's the biggest manifold I could get? What's the biggest Edelbrock I could get?
Yes.
What's the biggest Holley carburetor I could get?
Right.
And I remember we'd get these things, and they had no skill whatsoever in tuning these things.
Nope.
You talked the other day about sitting in a gas station with that Mustang sitting there, just basically so
just
rich,
pouring gas out at the back end.
Yeah, your eyes are burning.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was the experience I had as a kid.
Yep. Well, so if put it like this: if I put the Coyote engine in this car when I build it, in terms of driving and pushing the accelerator and doing what the car is going to do to accelerate, it's going to be very close to what your truck does. Super smooth.
Yeah.
Depending on the mufflers, it'll be louder, but it'll be super smooth. But the trick is with those Coyotes and the LS engines as well, the Chevy's version of that.
Yeah.
When you rev them high enough, then they start to get angry. Then they start to get like, okay, this is crazy power. So for the Coyote, that's about 5,000 RPMs.
Right.
So they idle at about 1,100. That's kind of normal.
Wow.
And so between 1,100 and 5,000, it's just good fun. But if you really want to take it out to the track and try to wring it out between 5,000 and 7,000 RPMs, it's instantaneous power.
This is all
super sharp.
All naturally aspirated. Nothing.
No, this is all fuel injection. The whole thing.
But I mean, it's no turbo.
No turbos. No
supercharger.
No. Exactly.
I tell you, when you're talking about this though, man, Melanie's going to regret that you guys ever moved to Texas. I'm just saying, because I don't really want to do it because after you talked about that, I was like, I kind of maybe. So I did go.
Okay, before you go on, I mean, just tell you I had a dream the other day about you.
Oh shit.
Yep. And that dream was that you got a GTO,
a
late 60s GTO.
That would be
and
possible.
Restored it, and it was green.
Oh, you know what's so weird about that?
That was just a weird dream that I had. How close am I?
Well, Pontiac, yeah, definitely all day long. GTOs, definitely. I mean, there's this is definitely a hodgepodge.
Yes.
I thought about certain restoration of certain automobiles, right? I probably don't want to build a muscle car though, because I don't know. I think I want something that's comfortable, and not that a muscle car can't be. I get you. I see that look you're giving me right now.
No, I'm just curious as to the comfort level.
But going back, and we talked about this during our car discussion, is that I've always been kind of a Pontiac person, right? I would want either like an F body, which would be like a Trans Am, or a GTO would be good. I forget what body GTOs are, but one of my friends growing up had a green GTO.
Okay.
It was a 71, 72, something like that. But right up to the very end. Had the hood tack and everything like that. It was super cool. And
the hood tack.
The hood tack, man, why not, bro? Hey,
that's
you know
totally
what?
70s.
Dude, it's pretty awesome too, by the way.
Yeah.
So
the only one that's better is the one that's like strapped to your steering column.
Dude, I like the big one over to one side of the steering column. Yeah, I love that crap, man. So God, when we grew up, that was like the total.
Oh yeah, if you had that, you were a race car driver.
And also you'd have like the you get the gauge back from Summit. It would have like the fuel pressure, like you needed to know fuel pressure.
Exactly.
Like like you were, like you're like, how many gauges can I get in there?
Yeah, exactly.
And you'd have some guy that would like basically say, I'm going to cut it out. It's going to be like a perfect fit in the dash. It looked like he basically took a screwdriver and like punched a hole in his dash. It's like stabbed a hole in his dash, or sitting in his dash like where the radio went.
And vibrating as the car idles.
and it was so dangerous. Like the fuel pressure one. Sometimes they'd be like, no, this is a mechanical oil pressure. Yeah. And what that meant was pumping
oil line. Yeah, through the thing. Yeah, I had that in my Chevy truck when I first got it. I changed that thing quick. Man.
No doubt, it was just danger. It was danger, Will Robinson. Yeah. So.
But anyway, so let me get back to you wanted the car to be comfortable. That's good. So just know that there's a whole segment of that industry that caters exactly to that.
Yeah.
And the fancy word they use for it is resto mod. So it's restored and modified.
Right.
And then so you can they got so many cool cars now.
Yeah.
You can put nice interior in them.
Sure, and good suspension.
Yep, all of it. Yeah.
Like I think I told you, like one of my friends built that Challenger, and he, I think it was a 383 and a torsion bar suspension. Pistol grip, 4-speed, manual transmission, and torsion bar is like the worst thing Mopar ever did. One of them, and I'm not an Mopar guy, but I remember him and I on like a country road. That was the one that I told you that we had to jack up to get the flywheel to break loose. And I remember like, fearing for my life and then like giving up. Like literally if we're going so fast. Yeah, if we're going so fast that if this thing comes apart.
That's it. You're not even going to know it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just going to be like, that whole $6 million man thing where the ship just bursts into flames.
Except they're not going to rebuild you.
Oh, not at all. Yeah, not at all. They're not going to find me. You know what I mean? To say, so if I were to do this, if I were to build a car, I would just want whatever body it is. One thing I've actually kind of thought about a little bit, and is for what it's worth, is I for some reason I've had like a thinking about Thunderbirds, like an old Thunderbird.
Okay.
And but with that said, whatever it would be a Thunderbird body sitting on modern shit. You know what I mean?
So that's another thing. There's a guy in Oregon that makes modern frames, modern chassis for old cars.
Yeah, so there you go.
But that's one of the reasons I went with Factory 5 is because the chassis that they make they're CAD designed and sports oriented. You driving around one of these cars, the Daytona Coupe with a 347, which is not the biggest motor, will outrun a 911. And cornering and speed because they're only like 2,200 pounds.
Yeah,
and they got 450 horsepower, and it just screams.
Well,
man. Now you can actually turn them. You know what I mean? It's actually corners really well.
Well, we'll build your Daytona, and then we'll start talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, man. Whatever. I mean, it's on some point if you get the bug and you want to do it, you help me, I help you.
Well, and this is the thing we talked about. This is that when we were kids, you'd pray to have like the nicest automobile, a nice automobile, but you're not going to make that money.
No, that's why only old guys drive really nice Corvettes. Well, that's all they can afford them.
What's my favorite movie? Smokey and the Bandit. What I liked. I don't want a '77 Trans Am because that car was a piece of shit. Yeah. Right.
Hey, my brother's got a 2002 you can buy. It's got the LS1 in it.
I would like the I would like the 77 body of the Trans Am, but again with the
decent chassis.
And by the way, I have a hate on General Motors now because they stopped making Pontiacs.
Okay,
I know that was a jump, but yeah. Well, we are there.
Are we on time?
We're probably
close enough.
I think so. So. So
anything to add for this particular hodgepodge?
Not really. I think this was a good one though. I like the conversation a lot.
Yeah. So I think one of the things to let anybody who actually cares about any of this stuff that we talk about, I think what's going to happen, our plan here is that I ordered my car. I changed car bodies and whatever. There's a whole story around that. But they called me the other day, and my car is actually going to be done being manufactured on June 10th.
Okay.
And then it's going to take a few weeks for them to get it shipped. Well, I have to ship it. But anyway, so we'll do a couple weeks before that. So it'll be like July before the car even shows up. And then I think Tony and I are going to come up with a plan, and we're going to build this car together, and we're probably going to make it like a YouTube build video series.
100%.
And so anybody who cares about cars and wants to follow our shenanigans, we're going to end up with a YouTube channel.
I think this is going to become a whole thing. It was going to be YouTube, podcast, whole night. I mean, again, I don't think it'll replace this podcast,
right.
but this podcast will definitely have episodes devoted to our efforts.
Yeah, I think so, because it'll be fun. It'll be learning. I've been watching a lot of build videos on some of the details on how to do it, and it looks like it's going to be fun. And I think I've mentioned before, one of my favorite parts about doing this car in this way, all the parts are brand new. It's clean. You don't have to sandblast rust and 40 years worth of corrosion.
I remember.
You just put this stuff together, and it's like, it works.
I remember the very first. Yes, I think that's the very first car I would, and not knowing much about rebuilding or anything like that. I was with a friend. He had a Camaro. I think it was a 74, 73, something like that. I had like a small block Chevy, not a 350, maybe like a 327 or something like that. We pulled that engine out, and I remember we didn't know shit. He knew more than I did. I was just following along. So he pulls that manifold off, and we look down into the lifter valley, and it was just like almost like it looked like tilled earth. You know what I mean? Shit. Like so much oil. I think they'd put sawdust in there. That used to be a thing, And so you can see like the lifter or the rods, the lifter, whatever, push rods. Push rods, like this disappearing into this like muck.
Oh Jesus!
Solid muck. And I was like, I remember saying, "Is it supposed to look like that?" And he was like, I don't know. And I remember he'd scraped that crap out. We took it to the machine shop, had them bat the engine, and they did the whole thing where they made sure the block wasn't cracked,
right?
Which it wasn't, And but that was such a disgusting mess.
Yeah.
So the fact of not having to rebuild or having a clean build.
Yep. That's a big benefit for me. It really is, because when I did my 53 truck, man, I can't tell you how many times I go underneath it and try to change something simple, just whatever, and you just turn a screw and rust falls in your eyes, and you're like,
it's not even safe.
It gets really frustrating.
Right,
it just gets really frustrating.
Yeah, I get it. All right, well, that another good one in the can. All right,
man,
so again, this was Tony with Doug, and we're gonna call it there. I hope everybody has a great day.
Yep, enjoyed the Hodgepodge, and see you next time.
Bye. This has been an Analog Spectrum production and presentation. We appreciate you listening to our podcast. It means a lot to both me and Doug. As always, we're looking for topic suggestions, folks to interview, and friends to join us on the show. If you can help with any or all of these, go ahead and send a quick note to Analog Spectrum, that's all one word, at gmail.com. Are you curious about our past uploads? Go check out our website. You'll find the link in the description. Finally, for any cast you've enjoyed, please leave a comment and a review. For that last part, it would mean a lot to us if you would make it 5 stars. And don't forget to share us with your friends and family. Thanks again for taking time out of your busy day and spending time with us. There's nothing better than hanging out with you and all our friends in this crazy Analog Spectrum world.